asked him if he'd come on the show and lay down some simple, easy to follow instructions for anyone wanting to learn how to get their feet pointing in the right direction for their very own 1,000-mile new business journey. So welcome to the Fuel Podcast, Andrew Morgan.
Thank you for the intro, Keith.
That's all right, mate. Well, thank you for coming on the show. And talking of Superman, have you ever changed clothes in a phone box?
I've done a few things in the phone box, but never changed clothes. I know that I absolutely still love talking to people, and I'm pretty old school, as you'll probably gather through this conversation. I do believe in picking up the phone, having a conversation with someone. You can do so much more in terms of communicating with someone when you are talking to them. You can pick up the tone. You can hear, their size. You can hear physical feedback from them.
Yeah.
It's something you can't do through the written communication.
Right.
Although in saying that, I'm also a big fan of email because I'm quite creative in writing. So sometimes you can't pick up the phone and have a conversation. So I will default to email, and I'm a big fan of both. I think it depends. They've both got their use, and it depends what the use is. But yeah, I think first and foremost, it is telephone. It's good old human interaction, and second, it is email.
And with this subject, it does have some relevance because one of the first basic rules of any new business and sales strategy is the story. So with that in mind, I mean, can you tell us what is your own purpose and vision that makes your agency Wayout so appealing? I mean, what are your own visions and values?
I think my own visions and values are first and foremost honesty. I'm probably too honest for my own good. I like to speak the truth, and I think it's important to speak the truth. And I try and ensure that is through everything I do. So even down to the comms, I write my own blogs, I send out my own emails. I'm very truthful about that, and I'm very truthful about the experiences I've had and how those experiences can be translated into use for new business or use for business generally. And I'm also I love to be playful, and I love to have fun in what I do. I think if you can't have fun at work, if you can't enjoy what you're doing, your life can be pretty bloody miserable. So I'm a huge fan of, be truthful to you, be truthful to who you are and what you're trying to do. Have fun doing it. If you're not enjoying it, pack your bags, go home, because if you're doing it on a daily basis, you're not enjoying what you're doing, then it can be a pretty miserable existence. So I'm a big believer in just having fun. But also at the same time, do it professionally. We can still have fun, we can still be playful, we can still talk to people as human beings, and still deliver an excellent job and an excellent project, an excellent outcome for you, your clients, whoever it is. And I've always been very professional with work and my approach, but balanced it with having a bloody good time in the process. So I think those were the three values that I always stick to, and certainly within those values, that kind of underpins my business and my approach to my approach to things.
How can a new business manager make sure that a new campaign gets the buy-in from the whole company, so that everyone knows sort of where they're pointing?
Yeah, and I think this comes from experience, not only in terms of my own personal experience, but just listening, watching, hearing. You've got to involve people. I think it's pointless putting a plan together and sort of setting it out in front of people and saying, right, this is what we're going to do, this is what you've got to do, this is what we require you to do, and it's going to take X amount of time, and how often these are the points that you need to do things to help with this new business drive. Because if people don't have that initial involvement from the outset, and have their the penny worth in terms of what they think and ideas and thoughts and to come forward, you can't get the buy-in. If you involve people from the start of a new biz process and putting a plan together, and you involve people and ask them what they want to do, and get their views, get their opinions. If you involve them from an early start, then I think that when it comes to actually implementing anything, because people feel connected to that plan and approach, they're more likely to buy into it, because they've helped create it. So I think when it comes to putting together any kind of new business strategy in an agency, I'm a big fan of literally involving all of the agency, as many people as possible, because everyone has experiences, everyone has opinions, everyone connects with brands and companies. They will all have their ideas about how to reach out to people, what we can talk to them about, what are those hooks, what are the experiences that might give us a reason to get in touch with someone. It's not all down to, you know, you as a new biz person. Everyone, new business is everyone's business.
Right.
But I'm also, in saying that, I always shy away from using the word sales, because if you use sales to someone that isn't into sales, they instantly say, well, I can't sell. But ultimately, we sell day in, day out with everything we do.
Sure.
But going back to your question, it's about just involving the team in, you know, in the whole process to help get their buy-in.
I mean, what would you say to somebody about, you know, sort of the best way to identify what channels work best?
I think it's about understanding where your end client is. If you know that your end client is a prolific tweeter, then it makes absolute sense to start, you know, using that channel. I think it's where the complications lie is we sometimes look at end clients as people, but we also can look at end clients as companies, but we can also look at end clients as sectors. So when you're talking about the digital channels, which is relevant to, you know, to those, you could have, for example, a business that's not very active on Twitter,
Right.
but you could have a CEO that's massively active on Twitter working in that business. So I think you have to really sometimes break down, when when it comes to targeting, break down that targeting list in terms of individual people within those businesses and brands, and begin to profile them and see where they are active. Because whilst you can be active, you know, as an agency talking to a sector, ideally you also want to be talking to potentially someone individually in that business or brand. So sometimes it's not as straightforward as saying, right, we need to be on this channel. Yes, there will be some sectors that are more prolific in certain channels, as there will businesses. So you can use a second guess in terms of, right, we need to be active here because this sector, this business is. But I think always think about the end client and do a bit of a profile. Where are they? Some people do not look at LinkedIn. So if you know that you're trying to strike a chord with a CMO, if they are not on LinkedIn, why would you use LinkedIn as a medium to try and talk to them? So I think you've got to sometimes break it back down, because you're right, there are so many channels out there, which is why I often default to good old fashioned picking up the phone or, you know, sending an email.